You're now listening to Directing Magic with your host, Marquette Jones.
Hello. This is Marquette Jones, and I'm going to be your host here on the Directing Magic podcast. Thank you so much for joining in. Looking forward to introducing you to a ton of other female filmmakers here in Los Angeles and beyond. I'm going to be doing interviews with women who are working in the industry mostly. There will be directors and writers, some producers, and other creatives that help make the magic happen in the film business. One of the things that you can look forward to is no holds barred, people really talking about the things that have helped them and things that they've had to get over in order to achieve the goals that they have set for themselves. This is going to be my way of giving back, my way of sharing the stories, of acknowledging how much work and effort and energy and all the great things that we are accomplishing and doing in this business. This will be an opportunity for me to introduce you guys to my friends who I think are freaking bomb. And that's pretty much it. That's the Directing Magic podcast. I may even have a guy or two, but they have to be extra special if I do that. That means that they're total and complete rock stars, and if they're not claiming it, they're low-key feminists as well, because otherwise I'm not doing that. But that's what you can expect. My first interview is going to be with Alison, Marek, who's a dear friend of mine from film school. We both went to NYU Film together. We have worked together, collaborated on a few different things. Most recently, a PSA for the Women in Film organization, where she directed and I was her producer. So you can check that out. That's coming up next. And then beyond that, I have a few other surprise guests for you that will be coming in later episodes. I'm really looking forward to it. And thank you so much for being here and listening. And please do feel free to send your comments and your suggestions for people that you want us to talk to. That would be great. I'm open and I want this to be a community experience. So without further ado, the Directing Magic podcast starts now. Okay, so you ready?
Yes.
So hi, this is Marquette Jones, and I am so happy to have one of my most favorite people here today, Miss Alison Marek. She's one of my classmates from NYU. She's an excellent filmmaker and producer, and I'm just really excited for her to be my very first guest on Directing Magic podcast.
Wow, it's really thrilling. I mean, just the idea of directing magic. So I'm so excited that you're doing this and that you asked me to be part of it. Thanks.
Thanks, Alison. So let's jump in. Let's talk about you. Tell me, let's start with your background. Like, how did you get to where you are right now, and what are you working on? All that good stuff.
Well, I was really lucky. I grew up in a very creative household. My dad was a press agent who wrote gags for his comedians, clients. So he was writing for people like Rodney Dangerfield and Joan Rivers and Woody Allen.
Wow.
So I grew up with that. And he was also a huge movie fan, including a silent movie fan. So I was exposed to cinema from a really early age, and I loved it. So I was always obsessed with movies, always obsessed with telling stories, first with my dolls, and then later as I became a teenager, I started writing and drawing comics. The first thing that happened was, because there weren't too many women or girls drawing comics in those days, I kind of got some attention for that. And so that led to my creating what's called a graphic novel, although mine kind of looks like a kid's story. It's not, but a graphic novel that was later published by Piranha Press, which was an imprint of DC Comics. So they're illustrated stories. I had 2 books published by them. And I always kind of thought of them as handmade films because I really wanted to make films, but it just seemed like such a huge leap from, making movies as a teenager with my friends to actually being able to make a film.
What were your comics about?
Oh, my books?
Yeah.
One is about a young girl's search for happiness, and the other is about a little boy who's trying to stay out of boys' jail. So they're both kind of dark looks at childhood, and actually, I was recently contacted by someone who wants to republish them, so I'm hoping that happens. And I would be including a third story, which is about two young teenage cousins who conspire to seduce their long-lost uncle who's just reappeared in the family, and one of them actually does it. It's not really supposed to be something to do, and she does. So it's these 3 dark looks at childhood, serious looks of childhood.
That's very humor. Dark, my friend.
Yeah, it is.
Right up my
dark.
alley.
Yeah, so I just like serious beings. Anyway, so that was kind of my entry into filmmaking, and of course I used those books when I did apply to NYU grad film school. In the meantime, had done some theater, and did some acting, did some stage managing, and but I really, really wanted to make movies, so I finally bit the bullet and decided to apply to NYU, which was really the only school I applied to. I did apply to Columbia too, and I got in there. And I was just so happy to get in, mostly because I wanted to meet people like me who are going to be really dedicated to being filmmakers like you. Smart, intelligent people who...
And also people who were like, I'm only going to apply to one school. I did the same thing. I didn't apply to Columbia because I feel like they wanted something that I didn't have in their application process, but NYU was it. I was like, oh, well, if I don't get in, I'll just keep doing what I'm doing.
Right.
So cocky girls.
Well, also, the reason I decided to apply to grad school was I was, at the time, still involved in theater, and I'd been studying with Tina Howe at Hunter College, and I went to a conference that she was part of, and it was women in theater. So you'd think theater is a very egalitarian art, because what do you need? You need a pencil, basically, and some paper. Mm-hmm. All the women on the panel, these are all, well-known playwrights, including Tina and Susan Laurie Parks. All of them were Ivy School grads. Mm. And so I said, yes, in theory, anyone can be a playwright, but in practice, who succeeds are people who already have a network in place, who have some sort of support, who've gone to a different level. And so I thought, well, I'm going to go ahead and join up and get an instant network. That's what I wanted from film school, because I knew I could teach myself the basics in so many different ways. You can learn, how to tell a story. You can learn how to set up the camera.
Then you already knew how to tell stories from your graphic novels. So.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I would like to you always want to be better.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah.
So I went there really just to meet you.
Score. Good idea.
And that's been my favorite part. I mean, of course, just being in school is great because you get to focus on your work. It's like this incredible, idyllic time where you don't have any other expectations other than doing your best work possible. But the takeaway is the people that you meet and continue to interact with and be inspired by and learn from afterwards as you start to build your career.
And how has the NYU network worked to your benefit since you've been out of school?
I think mostly by keeping me focused, because initially when I left school, I got caught up in some family drama that I was part of, and I lost focus. And so I wasn't doing the work consistently. And once I re-engaged with my network and I started identifying what I wanted and started moving toward that more with greater momentum. So for me, it's also great just because there are people at all different levels of success, and you can see, how little it takes really to nudge you over from one level to the next, and that we're all just have a similar background. All have the thing I love about NYU is that they tend to accept into their programs people who have life experience. So it's not like that cliche, the stereotype of a privileged 22-year-old kid whose parents have bankrolled their education from day one, going out here and coming into Hollywood and just sort of accepting that as is due. Like these are people who've been lawyers like you, who've been writers like me, who've been all kinds of other professions and have, experienced some success in other ways and are adults, basically. They're not kids. They're people who've been to school who, and usually have some life experience and work experience before they come to NYU. And then right now there are a lot of veterans actually in the program. And then they're also just trying to find people from diverse backgrounds, and that can even mean, Appalachia, like John Matthews. I don't know if you know him, but he's from West Virginia. So, they're looking for people who haven't been the traditional filmmakers.
It's really interesting that you say that, because I never really put that together until you just said it, and why you actively looked for people that are not cookie cutters of each other. Right. That's true. Like, when I think about my class, from every part of the globe, even on top of every type of storyteller. So I can totally see what you're saying with that.
Yeah.
But can we go back to your graphic novels though? Can people find those anywhere?
Oh yeah, they're online. The first one is called, in fact, that's how that guy found me, I guess, is just through looking online. I sometimes get a fan letter from here and there. One is called Desert Streams. They're both by Piranha Press. And the second one is called Sparrow.
And is that streams like water?
Yes.
So Desert Streams, and then the second one was
Sparrow.
Sparrow's like the bird.
Yes.
So which one is the one about the girl trying to find her happiness? Because I need some guidance there.
That's Desert Streams.
Awesome. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I need to find my streams.
I think you're finding them. You're finding them right now online. It's actually, I'll cut to the chase and tell you, like, the moral of the story was to do something, focus on something other than yourself. So, but sometimes that's hard to do when you're, dealing with all kinds of, we're living in a extra challenging time. I guess every time has its own challenges, but post-recession, which is still kind of current recession and reconfiguration of the economy. I was actually just reading a little piece about millennials and how they've been maligned as being sort of irresponsible and kind of flighty because they don't want to, hunker down and get a real job. Hey, newsflash, there are no real jobs out there anymore.
There are not.
People are just scrapping together what they can from little side jobs, and those little side jobs don't even pay what they used to pay, because one of my day jobs used to be as a medical writer, and that pay has gone down by considerably. So actually another one of my filmmaker friends and I kind of collectively came up with a new phrase, because she was talking about for her career, thinking of it as a mosaic rather than as something linear, because it's going to come from different directions, and different aspects of her talent and her network. And then also talking about how just doing 15 minutes a day of anything keeps you focused on that task, and that ends up leading you to a result rather than, spending 3 hours on the weekend and then forgetting it, for a month. So 15 minutes a day, and the idea of the mosaic, we came up with sort of a 15-minute millionaire mosaic. And the millionaire just got in there sort of by, I don't know how, but just, concentrating on, finding the things that you really want to accomplish, spending at least 15 minutes a day on one or several of them, depending on what your schedule is, so that you continue to make progress, because there is no one way anymore to do anything. There's nobody who's going to hand you the keys to the city. You kind of have to craft your own city. So
I love this idea of mosaic. Nowadays.
Yeah, I mean, that's the reality. It's just, there's so many, all these new companies that are being funded, like Uber and Lyft, they're getting millions and billions of dollars, and their business model is, we have no employees. Everybody's working for us as an independent contractor. That means they don't have to pay workers' comp. They don't have to pay insurance, health insurance. They don't have to do anything. All the onus is on the independent contractor. So that's what's going on. And so, we all have to become entrepreneurs and artists more than anything, because I work at New York Film Academy. I teach directing there, and there are so many people who've accomplished so much. Those professors have incredible resumes, and they're still in mid-career, most of them, and they teach as a sideline, one, because it's gratifying, but also it's cash for the times that, in between those screenplay sales, which can be years and sometimes decades in between. It's just there's no guarantee you're on top of the world one day and you have nothing the next. So you got to take control of that and find whatever you need to do to keep yourself creating and also sustaining life.
I have I work as an attorney as my day job, survivor job, whatever people want to call it. And it's really funny because especially here in Los Angeles, this wasn't the case as much in New York, but like I can be in a room with someone and we're doing some little, litigation support practically thing. And then you kind of like find out about the person. Like one guy was the creator or one of the creators of Fringe, the TV show.
Friends? Are you serious? He's an attorney?
Yes. He's
Crazy.
an attorney. I won't say his name, but I was just like, excuse me? Like how
could that happen?
He's a member of the WGA. He's a member of the DGA. Like his credentials are impeccable. And I'm like, just looking at him, I'm like, you must feel so miserable. But he keeps a fantastic face on. And like, he's like, oh, I'm just doing this, until the next thing pops. And I'm like, okay, well, can we do lunch?
Yeah, really.
Can you tell me how you were able to position yourself to be that guy who created a thing that everybody knows about? Yeah. So anyway, so I say that to say you're totally right. Like it's in the world that we live in right now, I don't think there are too many people who have the privilege of only focusing on one thing and one thing only, and that's enough.
Right. Well, even people who, succeed, who, make it to the top, whatever, all of those people have sideline businesses. They take that money that they make, if they're smart, and invest it into something else, whether it's something that continues their brand or even just real estate or, franchise businesses, anything to create cash flow, because you cannot rely just on one source, and especially something as mercurial as art, which, it depends on so many different things, so many different factors. So you just don't want to.
And so for you, teaching at the New York Film Academy, like how's that gone for you? What's been the best part of working with them?
The best part is that when you teach, you learn. You're always relearning stuff and always being inspired by your students. Like they'll, say something or do something that you're not expecting. And of course, just, the feedback you get from them is amazing, and just seeing them progress is very satisfying, and seeing them start to take themselves seriously and think of themselves as artists and not just, I want to be just like so-and-so, realizing that they're individuals and they're going to have a different way of looking at the world. And if they can bring that into the film, that's actually what's going to get them noticed. So that feels very, very gratifying. It's actually, usually it's really, really fun to teach. There are times when it's not. As you can imagine, sometimes you have some people resisting you. But generally it's very satisfying, and it also just keeps you in touch with what's going on in film. They're seeing movies, they remind me I got to go out there and see what's new, because I'm always showing them classic films, and they'd make fun of me because it's so much is in black and white, or you never looked at anything past 1970. And
even for me, I have to say, like, I've seen your film collection, and I'm like, that's like from the 1940s.
Oh, like I said, I grew up with classic cinema, so I've been watching, I didn't go to film school to know about film history. I already knew it. I grew up with that, so it just feels normal to me. And I pass that on, of course, to my students. And then, one of the best things I ever heard, I had these two girls from Africa who took one of my short-term programs, and they, at first, were kind of resisting some of the stuff I was showing them. And after class, they when the class was done, they wrote me a little letter, and they said to me, Alison, when we first came here, we thought we never had watched a black and white movie because we thought they were going to be boring, but now we love them.
Yay.
And they love, like, for instance, I showed Streetcar Named Desire. Well, who wouldn't love Marlon Brando taking off his shirt?
Girl,
in black and white or color.
So, in black and white still works.
Oh, yeah. I think it's better because it's more of a fantasy. Like, you feel more engaged in the world. It's just, you're concentrated more on the emotion rather than on the physicality of it. So I think it somehow has to me, it has like a deeper reach into your subconscious.
And what genre are you most inspired by?
Well, I've mostly been working in comedy just because I was always in such a good mood in film school. It was hard to write anything but, although I did have a dramatic piece for my thesis. But what I really am concentrating now on is historical fiction, because I really want to rewrite history from a woman's point of view. Like, just show things that we think we know about, but show it from how women at the time experienced it. So I've kind of been doing that unconsciously, and then I noticed that, this is a pattern. I've always been obsessed with the past, like, my obsession with silent movies, and always been interested in fairly recent history more than ancient history, but all just the past. This is the idea that we're here and we leave, and a new generation comes, and it's just always, filled me with a little bit of melancholy, but also excitement to think about that. So, and I love costumes, of course. So the idea of, writing about earlier ages and getting to recreate them with fantastic clothes and sets, and it's really gratifying. So I just did, one of my projects right now is called Play Me, and it's based on some stories I'd heard from women in the specialty toy industry who had started to break into that industry way back in the 60s and 70s. So, and how difficult it was for them. So I set my piece in 1957, right before Barbie gets released. And so it's about a woman, trying to break into a business that has no place for her. They just didn't really expect women to be inventors or to try to build their own business. And it was, you kind of think you associate toys with kids and women who buy the toys for their children, but it was a very male-dominated business. It still is, to a large degree. But now there's so many mompreneurs. In the specialty toy industry, it's really changed. But still at the big leagues, it's still kind of a boys' club, and you have to learn how to play by their rules if you want to be taken seriously. So the project that you're working on now, it's a pilot. It's a pilot. I'm writing it in several different forms because my main interest in this is just to get it out there and use it to get me more work and hopefully get produced as well. So the actress that I cast I did a staged reading a few months ago of Play Me.
Which was awesome.
Thank you. And
it was really super cute. I was like, I like your lead actress a lot.
Thank you.
Her performance, but also her character. Like, I felt like you really wrote someone who was well-rounded, and you know what I mean? Like not just like a stereotype of a thing. Like, as soon as she started talking, I was like, wow, she's interesting.
Oh, thank you. Well, the lead actress felt the same. Her name is Lucia Oscarova. She is from Czechoslovakia, which was like this incredible fluke because the character, Greta, the inventor, is Czechoslovakian. And I was auditioning a bunch of women who were all good actresses, and I liked them, but they were not getting the Eastern European mindset that I wanted and not delivering the lines the way I thought they should be delivered based on that. And this woman walks in, and she just completely nailed it. She got it. Like, she knows this. It's her background. And she couldn't believe that there was a casting for a Czech woman because she usually plays Russians or Germans. But anyway, she really loves the project, and so she wants to continue with it. And we've been talking about it with her and her fiance, who's actually an actor, well-known actor, and
a well-known actor.
Yeah. So we decided to take it.
Who shall not be named? I'm sorry.
No, because I don't know. You. Yeah, no, I won't. But we've decided, because we went like, well, what are we going to do with it? Like, I'm going to continue, of course, to work on it, distribute it as a pilot. I actually had thought of it originally as a feature and then as a play as well. And so we thought maybe we'd do a web series, maybe we'd do a trailer, and we finally decided on doing a short film. To just concentrate on the toy part of the story with a little bit of the personal stuff in there, but mostly the toy, and, try to get it down to about 15 minutes and then see if, raise some funds for that and then use that as a sort of a litmus test to see how much interest, how much money we can get. And then if that does well, then we can, raise money for a feature like Dee Reese, one of our other classmates, although I never met her, but she did
she was a class under me.
Oh, really? Oh, that must be so frustrating.
No, I'm really, 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 really proud of her. I mean, I have my moments of, whatever, being a salty bitch, but it's never towards her because I know how hard she worked to get to where she is. Like, I saw that firsthand. Like, that was not handed to her. So
no,
she's not one of the ones where I'm just like, no, she's not. I'm really proud of her and happy for her.
And that's why it's so important to have a really good, strong network of people around you, because then you see how much focus it takes to get something done.
Exactly.
It's focus is the secret to everything, I think, when it comes to success, because first of all, it helps you achieve it. And then secondly, when you're focused, everybody knows what you want. And so they can help you. If you're not focused, if you're not clear about what you want, how are people going to know? They don't know whether are you a writer, or you are this, or you are that. So yeah, we have to create a mosaic in order to support ourselves, but we also have to be clear in our mission, whatever that may be. And for me, what I'm saying is, rewrite history from a woman's point of view. And that's I actually have other projects that don't fit into that niche, but, I'm trying to, create something that's coherent so that when I tell people what I do, they get it. And then if they like it, they can get on board in some way, being part of the mastermind, like that we need, the brain trust that we need, or if there's somebody who wants to produce, then maybe that'd be something they'd want to do. But basically we have to be really clear. And the people who've done like extraordinary well at coming out of NYU, like Spike Lee, like Cary Fukunaga, like Dee Reese, they knew they knew going in what they wanted to do, and they just stuck to that.
This is true.
So that's one of our challenges, is to not get distracted by life itself, which is, of course exciting and wonderful, but also can be quite, involving. So,
especially as women, I mean, I feel like between thinking of the examples that you gave, like all of those people had a lot of support at the early stages of their careers, and I don't know, like I think it takes focus, but in order to focus outside and be very singular in your objective and not let the things of life get in your way, like you need people around you that are going to allow you to do that. Yeah. Or not try to, as Beyonce says, stop interrupting my grind. Like,
yeah,
there are people in the world who actively disrupt the grind.
Oh yeah.
And it took me a long time to learn how to like move them out of the way. But anyway, here we are.
Yeah.
Moving forward and focused.
There's a famous painting called Girl Interrupted. I think it's I should look this up before saying it in public, but I think it's a girl taking a piano lesson, and her her teacher interrupts her with a kiss. And that's something that we deal with a lot, is that, sex and work are really intertwined for straight women in a way that they aren't for so many other people. And
say more about that, Alison. How do you mean?
Just the fact that, often the employers or the people with the power are men, that whether they find you attractive or not is going to have something to do with whether they talk to you or not. And it's going to have to do with the way they interact with you or way you interact with them in the workplace as well. And it is kind of disconcerting sometimes when, I went to NYU for the network, and sometimes when I meet male colleagues, their first questions to me are about my marital status and not about, like, what are you working on? I just want a job. And it doesn't mean I don't, I'm attracted to people too. And sometimes, inappropriately, I'm sure. But, but it's just something like guys, like Hollywood especially. I didn't really mean to come to Hollywood, but Hollywood is such a boys' place. It's a guys' place. They all go out. You read their success stories, like we were hanging out in a bar, and then when I met so and so, I was like, I'm not gonna go hang out in a bar. I don't drink that much, and I'm not. I'm just not. That's just.
And it's not as safe for us to just hang out at bars all the time.
It's not, and it's not part of our way that we operate. So. They give each other jobs all the time because they see each other all the time. And of course, guys tend to work together even in school, and the girls tend to work together. So you're kind of missing out on a huge part of your network. And, again, like so often interactions between straight men and straight women have this sexual undercurrent that's either I'm attracted to you, and so I want this, or I'm not attracted to you, so I really don't even want to talk to you at all. Like, you just don't exist on my radar. So, and that, like when we don't have that between us, and they don't have that between them, but then when there's this crossover of the genders, it just becomes a little bit more complicated. And that's actually what Play Me is partly about. It's about, Greta is a traditionally very attractive woman, and she's straight, and that, elicits a kind of response from the men that she deals with that takes her by surprise because she's coming to them with a business proposition, and they're coming to her with another kind of proposition. And that's actually one of the things that, one of the inspirations for this pilot, Play Me, was a story about a woman who went to an editor at a toy magazine with this product she was representing, and it was this great product. It had this ecologically based theme, and it was, unique. And the editor says, sure, yeah, I'll write about it, but, basically you got to sleep with me first. She was just in shock. It just never occurred to her that something like that would have a casting couch for toys.
Right.
So, and so it's just something that we're always kind of aware of, and it does influence, our prospects. A lot of women who were successful have been mentored by men who've also been their boyfriends or lovers. So
what you're telling me basically is I've been doing it all wrong.
Yeah, you gotta. I don't want to go that route.
Enough. No more comment on that, but that's really...
But that's why, I was just listening to another seminar, I think I just mentioned it to you, it's this woman, Anne Ray, who's a visual artist, and she decided some years ago, she had given up on art because it seemed like such an impossible thing to break into, and you're always really asking for permission, you're asking for somebody else to say, yes, your work is valuable, and now we accept you into this, hallowed halls of those who are recognized by us. And that was, she wasn't, working at her art, and she wasn't making money at her art. And she decided to turn it around, and she thought of her art as a business and thought of how to present it to people in a way that they saw the value, the emotional value in it. And she, built her own, became her own representative, became her own, dealer and basically built, a micro business out of her art. And that's kind of what we all have to do again, because even if you get that, you do sell that screenplay or you do get that chance to direct something, it doesn't mean that you're going to get the second chance. Like, so many people don't get that second chance, men and women. Right. It's a hard business for anybody, and then it's just extra hard when you're not part of the club that's already extant. So, and you just can't rely on other people.
So for you, how does that affect the way you move forward from here with the pilot and the short film and and your approach to being a filmmaker?
Well, I'm still in process with all of that. Like I said, my friend and I just came up with this idea of a mosaic recently, and just realizing that there will be different facets and that we have to develop several things simultaneously. More than anything, I think the key is always to just being out in the world. That's certainly the times that things have happened for me is just because I happen to meet somebody, by accident. Like, it's kind of scary how often success is a fluke. Like, you can try to beat down a door and you get nowhere, and then you turn around and you fall into a sewer, and that actually takes you, to where you want to go. So, the best analogy I ever heard was this guy was asked, well, how do you break into Hollywood? How do you break in? Because he was a TV writer. He says, well, you can't break into Hollywood. So, it's like, it's a big box and there are no doors and there are no windows. Mm-hmm. And so there's no way in. All you can do is just keep walking around, and sooner or later you fall in. So you just have to be around. People have to know you exist. You just have to basically the main thing is you just have to keep doing the work.
That is what I think. You have to keep
doing the work, and that's really it. There's nothing else. And yeah, you need to talk about it. You need to share it, and you need to put it out there in one way or another, and just not let anything stop you from that. So in your 15-minute mosaics, you have to include that of working whatever projects you're working on. And I think also just getting really clear, like deciding what you're going to be focusing on. Doesn't mean it can't change. Like, if you're doing comedy now, you can do drama later, but stick with something initially, just so that the people get who you are, sort of. And so that's what I'm mostly doing is, trying to stick with the historical fiction, or certainly telling things from a woman's point of view, even if it's something contemporary. And, looking for things that I find interesting in either my life or in the lives of people around me that maybe haven't been talked about before. That's always, a challenge in any business. Like, what's new? Sometimes it feels like everything's been said, everything's been done. Right. All products have been invented, but there's always something new or a different angle. And so, outside of your pilot/short film, what else are you excited about right now? Well, I'm excited that, a few years ago I started drawing again, and I have this little book called Be a Happy Puppy, Daily Affirmations to Unleash Your Inner Fido. And
I love this.
Yeah, and it just, I love it because we all need a little mood boost sometimes, and so that little book actually helps boost my mood, and I do want to, turn that into a mini business as well. So I love doing that. I also just recently moved, and I love my new apartment. I love my new, more central neighborhood. Mm-hmm. I've just been going out with my friends more and more often, and going to more kinds of events, just taking advantage of being here. And
with the Fido, that's an ebook?
No, I actually had my mom talk about resources and helping. So my mom actually gave me some money to print it, and I was going to market it to toy stores. Then I realized that's actually probably not the best and most lucrative market, because I think it's more like in the self-help new age kind of realm. Although I might be able to do Toy Stories too, but I don't know exactly how it's going to all pan out. I also just recently sent it out as a possible one panel syndicated comic. So I sent it to a number of syndicates. So that's something else that I'm working on. And just
it's
excited.
Really, people can't see it, but they should check it out because I think it's really colorful and pretty. Like I like colorful, pretty shit. So, and I probably shouldn't curse because I don't want to E on my thing, but because this is not what that's about. However, what I was saying was that I love how joyful your drawing style and your color choices are. It's really fun.
Thank you.
So you're doing that. You're getting out in the city more. Any favorite places in LA right now?
Oh, I went to the Hollywood Bowl Sound of Music sing-along. That was pretty amazing. But no, I really haven't explored the city that much, I have to say. And that's one thing, I just been trying to keep up with movies so that I don't, so I know what's going on. I have a movie pass, and so I go with my friends now to films. At least try to go at least once a week, and ideally would be more. But
what's Movie Pass?
Movie Pass is it's a monthly subscription. You pay like $45, and then you can see as many movies as you want, at least one a day. No more than one a day. I'm sorry. But it's most theaters except for Sundance and ArcLight, but most of the theaters take it. So it can save you some money if you go a lot.
Yeah, that sounds like that would pay for itself pretty quickly, especially here.
It does. It's like 4 movies, and you paid for it. So, yeah.
So how can people find you online?
No, 3 movies. 3 movies. Right?
3 movies
15,
in your
30, 45. Yeah. Online, AlisonMarek.com, ALISONMAREK.com. Has some of the things, my books, my movies, the things I've produced. So check it out. Send me a message.
And you're on Twitter too, right?
I am. I have to get back to that stuff though. I haven't really been active since the staged reading. So that's Alison Marek Film. That's my handle on Twitter.
You're not into Twitter?
Yeah, I just don't. I was using it a lot for the play when I was doing Play Me, but I haven't thought about it since. I went through this drama of rescuing my dog and having to find a new place to live so that he could be on the first floor. So that just took me away from a lot of stuff, and now I'm just getting back into it. So I'll try to figure out what I want to tweet. What do you tweet?
Girl, I tweet every day. Every day, all day. Although we're recording this over a holiday weekend, and I decided that I was going to have a holiday hiatus.
Oh.
So I shut down all of my accounts for the weekend until it's time to go back to work. So I could focus on other things like...
Yeah, having a life. Right?
Exactly. Exactly. It was getting to be too much, man. Like I was like finding myself going off about things, and I'm like, man, you're going to talk yourself out of a job. Stop talking yourself.
Oh, yeah, you got to be careful. Right?
So I literally had to tell a few people, I'm like, don't tweet me. If you want to talk to me, you got to call me. Like that's how we're living this weekend, till next Tuesday. So, but yeah, stuff I tweet about. I mean, a lot of the, current affairs, especially stuff related to Hollywood. I tweet about Generation X stuff, like how we got the shaft. like the changing workplace a little bit. A lot of artists' rights stuff. Like I with my legal background, I get passionate, let's say, about the ways in which artists are being treated in this economy, and legally how they're being treated as well. So copyright issues, stuff like that.
Right.
Or lack thereof. Stuff is going on, girl. I'm like, wait, what? Who? Apple bought who this week? Like, well, how does that, I don't know. It's interesting times. Things are changing really, really fast. So, just trying to keep up.
Right.
But sorry. So that was my rant about social media, which I love. So for you, we get to look forward to the short film version of Play Me. That's exciting.
Yes.
And a relaunch of Fido. What is the title of the book?
Yeah, actually, it's Be a Happy Puppy.
Be a Happy
Daily
Puppy.
Affirmations to Unleash Your Inner Fido. And yes, you can purchase it if you wanted to, or if you wanted to be a distributor, that's something else. And especially anybody who's into, sort of new age stuff or, happiness. Might want to check that out.
What is the one thing you would say to someone who is trying to find their inner Fido?
Focus on something outside yourself. Find something around you to be grateful for. It could be even something like the floor underneath your feet. The fact that you have walls around you right now, or you just ate a meal. Something that's simple. Like whatever it is, just there's always something to be grateful for and to be happy about. Focus on that because, anything else is going to take you down a dark road. We don't want to go that way. We want to just keep moving forward toward the light, looking for things that we love and moving toward them.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Alison, for being a
Thank
part
you,
of the
Marquette.
Directing Magic podcast. This was so much fun. I'm so excited. It's going to be awesome. And
I'm scared.
Me too. But the thing is, it's going to be fantastic. And the other thing is that, that's what we're here for, to push through and to move to the next level of what we're doing.
Right.
So thank you, my dear.
I'm very proud of you for doing this, and thank you for inviting me.
Have a good day.
Have a good 4th of July.
Thank you, girl. You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.
So there we have it, the very first Directing Magic podcast in the can. Thank you so much to Alison for doing that. Next step is going to be Abby Harris. She's a producer for Maker Studios and a bunch of other really cool stuff, cool projects going on. And you can look out for the podcast on Facebook at Directing Magic, and also Twitter, same Directing Magic. And if you're into Instagram, we're there too. And by we, I mean me. I just like to, imagine that I have this wonderful crew and team of people who are helping me. That's coming one of these days. So until that time comes, by we, I mean me. Talk to you soon. Thanks a lot.
You've been listening to Directing Magic with Marquette Jones. Be sure to visit directingmagic.com for past episodes and other information relating to the show. Also, be sure to subscribe and rate and comment on iTunes. Until next time, bye-bye.